Welcome to the Glasgow City Council meeting. Let's begin by standing and saying our pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you'll remain standing, Councilman Lowry will lead us in an invocation.
You bow your heads, please. Dear gracious and heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for the blessings that you've bestowed on this community. Dear Lord, we ask that you be with us this evening and guide us with wisdom as we go about the business of the city. Dear Lord, thank you for our first responders, for all the people who help make this city such a wonderful place. We love you and thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Chastity. Please be seated. Next, we'll ask City Clerk Young to call the roll.
Kirkpatrick.
Yes.
Trigg.
Yes.
Norris.
Here.
Shoemaker.
Here.
Neal.
Here.
Wilkerson.
Here.
Linnell. Here. First.
Here.
Lowry.
Here.
Okay, and let the record show, as the agenda did show, or the meeting notice showed, that Councilman Bunnell is with us tonight via Zoom or via Teams, which is perfectly legal. He's a full voting member of the council and in compliance by being here, being on Zoom, and we appreciate him making the effort to be here for that. The first thing we need to do, you've had it in your possession for several days, the agenda that we want to go by tonight. You've had it in your possession. I will entertain a motion that we approve the agenda to abide by tonight.
Motion.
From Councilman Neal. Is there a second?
Second, Norris.
Councilman Norris. Is there any discussion on the agenda as it was presented? If not, then all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The meeting agenda has been approved, and the first item of business on tonight's agenda is to approve the minutes from our special call meeting, which was held back on May the 26th. You all have had that in your possession, and I feel like you've had time to look at it, so if somebody will make a motion, we can enter it into the record. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Neal. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The minutes are in the record books from that Tuesday, May the 26th special call meeting. We have some old business to attend to tonight. First of all, Rich, you want to get started with that?
First item is an ordinance, a second reading on an ordinance permitting a rebate or retention by Sharp Carts LLC of 1% of the 1 3/4% occupational license fee on certain wages paid to the employees in the city of Glasgow. That whereas the city of Glasgow has adopted an occupational license fee ordinance providing for an occupational license fee of 1 3/4% on certain wages paid to employees in the city. Whereas Sharp Carts has made an application for certain benefits and incentives available to it under the Kentucky Business Investment Program as a result of its commitment to locate and create jobs and investments in Glasgow. Whereas the Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority has preliminarily approved the KBI incentives. Whereas the City Council of Glasgow is willing, as one of the incentives, to permit the retention by Sharp Carts of 1% of the 1 3/4% occupational tax revenues to be paid by employees of said company, recognizing that said company's economic presence in the city would enhance the economic property of Glasgow. And whereas the City Council of Glasgow wishes to demonstrate its willingness to accept the measure of retention of said payment or reduction by said company as described above. Now therefore be it hereby ordained by the City of Glasgow, Kentucky as follows. Section 1, that the City of Glasgow takes notice of the application of Sharp Carts for benefits and incentives available to said company under the Kentucky Business Investment Program administered through the Kentucky Economic Development Authority, including the application by said company for retention of or rebate to said company of 1% of the 1 3/4% occupational tax revenues to be paid by employees to said company. Section 2, that the approval herein granted is subject to said company receiving final approval of its application and meeting all terms and conditions of its eligibility for said benefits under the Kentucky Business Investment Program. Section 3, that the City of Glasgow, Kentucky does hereby ordain that for 10 years subsequent to the activation date, as that term is established by and among the Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority, Sharp Carts and the Barron County Economic Authority, Sharp Carts shall be entitled to retain or to have rebated to it 1% of the 1 3/4% occupational license fee, which would otherwise be paid by employees of said company from their respective salaries and wages. The 1% retention or rebate shall not apply to other income or net profits of said company and shall apply only to occupational license fees on wages paid to the employees in the City of Glasgow, sometimes otherwise referred to as payroll taxes. Section 4, this ordinance shall take effect upon its passage and publication according to law.
Of course, this is the second reading of this ordinance, and to get it up on the table, I will entertain a motion that we approve on second reading this Sharp Carts ordinance.
Motion, Lowry.
Okay, is there a second?
Second, Norris.
Second from Councilman Norris. Okay, we have a motion and a second, and now we can discuss this.
Mayor, does anyone remember how many employees they were required to have to get the incentive?
I can't tell you that there was a number that was specified because they were just getting started, which is why this is just now coming before us, but I can't tell you what the number is. Okay, other discussion?
The 10 years on that, is that pretty well standard?
Yes.
This is maybe off base here. Do they lease that from us, or does the city own that building, or is it a kind of a leased own, or how's that work?
I think it's owned by private industry. I think it's owned by K&M. K&M, I believe it is. At least it was when they first went out there, yes. All right, other questions? There being none, then I will call the question. All in favor of approving the second?
Roll call vote.
Yes, right, I got to do a roll call on that. I'm sorry. We're going to be doing roll calls on these things tonight. I'm sorry. Go ahead and do the roll call.
Kirkpatrick,
Yes.
Trigg,
Yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Shoemaker,
Yes.
Neal,
Yes.
Wilkerson,
Yes.
Bunnell, Burke, Lowry.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. The second reading of that particular ordinance is approved. Rich?
Next item is a second reading on an ordinance rezoning the property located at 512 East Main Street containing 1.898 acres more or less from an R2 classification to R4. It appearing that the owner applicant Kenneth R. Ford has requested a zoning change for the property located at 512 East Main Street in Glasgow containing 1.89 acres more or less in the city from R2, which is the medium density residential district, to an R4 medium density multifamily residential district. A schematic drawing of this property subject to rezoning is attached as Exhibit A and incorporated herein by reference. A trial-type due process hearing concerning the proposed zoning change was held on April 20th by the Joint City-County Planning and Zoning Commission, resulting in the unanimous recommendation by the Commission that the property hereinafter described be rezoned from R2 to R4. Copies of the findings and recommendations of the Commission have been forwarded to the Council, are hereby adopted by the Council, and attached to this ordinance as Exhibit B. Now therefore be it hereby ordained by the City of Glasgow as follows. Section 1, the findings and recommendations of the Joint City-County Planning and Zoning Commission, copies of which are attached as Exhibit B, are approved in all respects. Section 2, the zoning for the property at 512 East Main Street in Glasgow containing 1.89 acres more or less in the city shall be changed from R2 to an R4 classification. The real property covered by the ordinance being described in Exhibit A. Section 3, the following agreed-upon binding elements shall apply to this zone change as it pertains to the owner applicant's development of the property. First, there shall be no entrance from Sam Terry. Second, no more than a total of 12 units configured in 3 fourplex buildings shall be constructed on the property. And lastly, there shall be no construction in the floodplain area. Section 4, all future development of this property shall comply with the requirements of the Development Plan Ordinance adopted by the Council on December 30, 1991. Section 5, this ordinance shall take effect upon its passage and publication according to law.
This is again the second reading of this ordinance at 512 East Main Street, the property there. First of all, I would like to entertain a motion that we approve this on second reading.
Motion Lowry.
Is there a second?
Second.
From Councilman Neal. All right, with the motion and the second, we can bring it up for discussion at this time. Anybody have any discussion they would like to make on this?
Yes, they said there would be no entry from Sam Terry, so do they, I'm assuming they already made the decision that they have enough room for road access from Main Street? Is that?
I would think so, or else they would not have recommended it to the council. Because you can't have a piece of property without access, so yes.
If you look on page 3 of where it says Exhibit A of the property location, if you flip 2 pages, it talks about a binding element that would not allow the entrance. It explains their reasoning, if that helps.
I guess my question also is back to, as we do these expansions and put these multi-complex buildings, how would the fire department or the police, based on the road that's there currently, the entranceway that they have off of Main Street, is that sufficient for, I'm making an assumption that the planning and zoning already
Yes.
has agreed, but
Yeah, and Kevin is not here tonight, but I can tell you that they're pretty strict on that, and I feel like that if there was a problem there, we wouldn't have it up this far in the process.
I honestly think someone asked that, I was at that meeting, I came to that and listened to Mr. Ford and his attorney here, and I can't remember which one of those members actually addressed probably the same question you did about the entranceway. I'm not sure it was worded exactly like you said as far as the fire and safety, but it was similar to, yeah, and it's a pretty thorough process, yeah,
Yeah.
that they go through. Confident that Kevin took care of that.
Okay. Good discussion. Other discussion while this is up on the table? If there's no further discussion, I will ask the clerk to take a roll call vote on this particular ordinance.
Kirkpatrick,
Yes.
Trigg,
yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Shoemaker,
Yes.
Neal,
Yes.
Wilkerson,
Yes.
Bunnell, Burris,
Yes.
Lowry.
Yes.
Okay, the ordinance passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Let's move on to some new business now.
This is the first reading of an ordinance adopting the City of Glasgow annual budget for fiscal year July 1, 2026 through June 30, 2027, establishing revenues and resources and appropriating funds for the operation of city government. That whereas an annual budget proposal and message has been prepared and delivered to the City Council, and whereas the City Council has reviewed such budget proposal and made necessary modifications, now therefore be it hereby ordained by the City of Glasgow as follows. Section 1, the annual budget for fiscal year July 1, 26 through June 30, 27 is hereby adopted as follows. And bear with me, I'm going to go through a lot of numbers here, but we will address each of the departments and the various funds. For the administrative department, there is no estimated carryover from the current fiscal year. The estimated revenue for the new fiscal year is $20,512,750. Estimated expenses for the new fiscal year, $3,001,679. For the legislative department, no estimated carryover. The estimated revenue would be zero. The estimated expenses for the new fiscal year, $91,890. For the police department, no carryover from the current fiscal year. Estimated revenue for the new fiscal year, $229,700. Estimated expenses, $5,713,381. Animal control, no estimated carryover from current year. Estimated revenue for new fiscal year, $154,500. Estimated expenses for the new fiscal year, $397,923. Fire Department, no estimated carryover from current year. Estimated revenue for the new fiscal year, $28,800. Estimated expenses for the new fiscal year, $4,498,680. Fire Substation, no carryover from current year, no estimated revenue for the new fiscal year. Estimated expenses for the new fiscal year, $143,450. Communications Department, no estimated carryover from current year. Estimated revenues for new fiscal year, $350,000. Estimated expenses for the new fiscal year, $1,453,130. Street Department, no estimated carryover from current year. Estimated revenue for new fiscal year of $183,203. Estimated expenses for the new fiscal year, $3,417,833. Building Inspector, no carryover from current year. Estimated revenue for the new fiscal year, $160,500. Estimated expenses for the new fiscal year, $324,060. Transit, no carryover from current year. Estimated revenue for the new year of $155,322. Estimated expenses for the new year, $244,000. Recreation, no carryover from current year. Estimated revenue for the new year, $129,000. Estimated expenses for the new year, $1,729,310. Swimming pool, no carryover from current year. Estimated revenue for new year, $107,000. Estimated expenses for new year, $199,680. Entertain Glasgow, no carryover from current year. Estimated revenue for new year, $98,000. Estimated expenses for the new year, $100,000. The South Central Kentucky Cultural Center, no carryover from current year. No estimated revenue for the new year. Estimated expenses for the new year of $55,000. Stormwater, no carryover from current year. No estimated revenue for new year. Estimated expenses for the coming year, $445,509. The Clubhouse or Farmers Market Department, no estimated carryover from current year. $5,000 estimated revenue for the new year. Estimated expenses for the new year, $77,169. The general fund has an estimated carryover from current year of $8,263,355. The estimated revenue for the total of the departments that I just referenced for the coming year is $22,113,775. The total estimated expenses then for the new year would be $21,892,694, with a fund balance estimated at the end of this coming fiscal year of $8,484,436. Capital projects, the estimated carryover from current fiscal year, $692,637. No estimated revenues from that fund for the current, or for the upcoming year rather. Estimated expenses for the coming year, $500,000, leaving a fund balance estimated at the end of the new fiscal year of $192,637. The Plaza account, estimated carryover from current year, $79,655. Estimated revenues for the upcoming year, $425,250. Estimated expenses for the new year, $478,450, leaving an estimated fund balance at the end of the upcoming fiscal year of $26,455. The Municipal Road Aid Fund, estimated carryover from current year, $367,177. Estimated revenue for the coming fiscal year of $230,000. Estimated expenses for the coming year, $240,000, with an estimated fund balance at the end of this coming fiscal year of $357,177. The CLEF Fund for Police and Fire, estimated carryover for the current year of $84,675. The estimated revenue for the coming fiscal year, $554,748. Estimated expenses for the coming year, $549,832.14, which would then leave an estimated fund balance at the end of the coming fiscal year of $89,590.86. The GEDL fund, which is the Glasgow Economic Development Loan Fund, has an estimated carryover for the current year of $1,338,419. Estimated revenues for the upcoming year of $115,600. No estimated expenses for the current, or rather for the upcoming fiscal year, which would then be an estimated fund balance at the end of the upcoming year of $1,454,019. The municipal cemetery, the estimated carryover from current year, $109,031. Estimated revenues for the upcoming year, $453,000. Estimated expenses for the upcoming year, $442,060, with an estimated fund balance at the end of the upcoming year of $119,971. Perpetual Upkeep Fund has a estimated carryover from current year of $548,846. Estimated revenues for the upcoming year of $18,000. Zero estimated expenses for the upcoming fiscal year, leaving a fund balance at the end of the upcoming year of $566,846. Sanitation and Landfill Fund has an estimated carryover from current year of $3,539,288. Estimated revenues for the upcoming year, $5,089,417, with estimated expenses for the upcoming year, $3,999,889, with estimated fund balance at the end of the upcoming year of $4,628,816. The Post-Closure Fund has estimated carryovers from current year of $6,648,156. Estimated revenues for the upcoming year, $215,000. No estimated expenses for the upcoming fiscal year, which would leave an estimated fund balance at the end of the upcoming fiscal year of $6,663,156. Therefore, your estimated year-end fund balances of all of which I just referenced, the estimated carryover for the current year, $21,671,239. Estimated revenue for the upcoming fiscal year, $29,214,790. Estimated expenses for upcoming fiscal year, $28,102,925.14, with an estimated fund balance at the end of the upcoming fiscal year of $22,783,103.86. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as of July 1, 2026, according to passage and publication as required by law. A copy of this information, the entire budget, and additional background materials are available for public inspection at City Hall during normal working hours.
Thank you, Rich. It's a good job with a lot of numbers. It's a lot to understand, a lot to digest. And the first thing we need to do is we need to entertain a motion that we pass this on first reading. Is there somebody that wants to make a motion? Is there a second?
Second, Norris.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Now we need to open it up for discussion. Councilman Bunnell, who is the chairman of the Finance Committee, would you like to start the discussion, sir?
Well, thank you, Mayor Royce and fellow council members. Last Thursday, June 4th, the Finance Committee reviewed the budget and is recommending council members for first reading approval tonight. I would like to begin by thanking our department heads and our Finance Committee staff on preparing this budget for the 26-27. If you look at the budget, it's down from where we were operating items that are not in this budget. We had our budget, such as the fire truck, a $2 million fire truck, had some proceeds from bond payments, and those aren't in there. Thus, that's why we're looking at a little bit of a lower budget for us in the next fiscal year. I'd ask pages of what's in front of you. You have summary. Just give you highlights on that. The good thing looking at this budget is our general fund revenue is really strong. It's a little bit over $221,000. That number is up over last year's budget. That's a good indication of the ability to bring the revenue in, control the expenses. Always looking for the right sources and uses of funds, the ability to manage those. We have limited resources, and the department heads do a really good job of maintaining what we need. That's a very positive piece of looking at our budget, just knowing your general fund revenue exceeds expense. At the bottom line to the budget, you see that we're over 1.1 million surplus for the next fiscal year. In this current budget that we're operating in, we have almost a $400,000 surplus that's budgeted. Better than that, but looking at that 1.1 million compared to the overall budget of just over $20, so got about a 3.8%, almost 4% return there. This budget allows us to build some surpluses back to the city, which is very important. However, building those surpluses, we are safety and maintenance and welfare and work on various needed projects. So when you look at this budget that we've got to meet bond payments that are out there now with American Active, buying some equipment in areas where equipment costs. We are maintaining the facilities that we've improved over the years. A pay increase across the board. Employees, so that's very, very positive. Across all departments, this budget is touching. This budget would be a similar budget we approved a couple of years ago, and we don't have the fire truck, we don't have the bond proceeds, we don't have major expenditures, so those are not in the budget. There are some there we are looking at. Those would include the pedestrian bridge that we talked about in finance several times. Question about that. The wall on West Main Street that's below the public parking, and then there are funds in there for the Johnson property, and as I did make, are some equipment purchases for some apartments. And as you look through the budget, I'm sure you've seen that a lot of activity in, whether it be from Entertain Glasgow to public transportation, 911 call center. Those are activities where losses in the operation. However, it takes the fund revenue being our ad valorem, property taxes, you're taking the occupational tax and the payroll tax to budget some other fees, and those fees are a lot to the city. Those fees make up about 81%. I just mentioned. Look at the income received from areas really help us to have a good working budget. And those areas are stable for us. The landfill is stable for us. Our budget number, occupational license fee, we show some growth in that. We're very fortunate in the city that we've had an increase in individuals being payroll tax is up, so that is very good. Net profit up, which is very positive. That flat, so we probably don't see much increase. The insurance, so all that allows for us to have a good budget, and a good budget that has revenue exceeding expenditure. So I would ask tonight that the council approve the first reading of this budget moving forward for the next fiscal year.
All right. Did we take a second on that? Yeah, we did, because I couldn't have opened it up for discussion. All right, Terry, thank you. As a part of this, every year the mayor is required to put a letter on the front page of the budget. And since the people that might be watching at home don't have this, I'm going to very quickly read this letter to put it into perspective of where we are and where we're trying to get to. Dear council members, countless hours have been spent in negotiations with department heads, the executive administrative branch, and others in bringing this budget to you for consideration. As a group, we have explored every available source of income and applied it to the pay scale and the cost of operation for each and every city department. The most exciting result of this exercise is this year the city has been able to offer an across-the-board plus 2.71% cost of living adjustment for every person on the payroll. This is not an every year occurrence, but it's particularly important because the cost of living is rising. Insurance premiums, household expenses, the inflationary cost of food, paying for retirement, and planning for emergencies are all necessary. Thanks to years of responsible financial planning, sound hiring practices, competitive salary and benefits packages, the city is welcoming stronger growth, industrial and retail outlets that will contribute to the tax base and the improved quality of life. Glasgow is on a roll. We can't wait to see what the coming year brings. Signed, Henry Royce, and into the front. The law requires that I write a little blurb right there. And that's my blurb for this particular budget, and I feel strongly about it. There's been so many hours, so much interaction between departments, and it's been a very rewarding exercise, and I feel like we have something good to move forward. So we had the discussion from Terry. I have read the letter. The floor is open, and when we distributed this budget, I wanted everybody to have it in time to be able to ask questions of the individuals who can answer the questions. But even though that opportunity has been there and people have been able to do that, while this is up on the floor for discussion, there could be other questions that somebody might have just discovered or might want to answer. So the table remains open for more discussion at this time.
This is not a discussion point really, but if you can look at the thickness of this work and the money that has been involved in the work of each department, I agree with Terry. Good work. We're proud of you. One thing I noticed was, in just talking briefly to one of the department heads, was a real concern of improving just a little bit that department and the things that were added to it. Felt real good about that. There weren't excessive kind of things. Another point was somewhere in the discussion, the Finance Committee, I noticed that like community relief, for 6 or 7 years, that same quantity of money has been allotted to that community relief. And I asked why. I think in talking to Victoria, there is a plan to possibly have a request out for each one of those people that request money, and maybe a group of people that would oversee that and cover those requests each year. A little bit more structure on that. So I like that.
Okay, very good. Other discussion? Questions? I mean, it's so much to digest, and of course we have a second reading of it, and I would encourage you to continue reviewing this particular budget, because we've got to live with it all year. and we don't want to not understand, where we're going, what we've got to go with, what we're trying to accomplish.
I will just say this, I may have some questions, whatever next, meet again to go over this more financially, budget-wise. I honestly got it, tried to skim through it and look through it, but for a retired guy, I guess my weekend was busier than it should have been, and I didn't spend the time I really think to. And go, if I will say, I did attend the finance meeting, and I'm going to echo some of the things that you just said. Overall, I thought, Victoria, for year one, did a great job of explaining that and putting the numbers out there. She seemed to have a good feel with your department heads, at least, what it came out of that meeting. I really was encouraged by, you said you had talked to some different cities, and which I think is so important in your job, is to have those connections. And I go back to school, having principals across the creek or different places you can throw things at to ask, and because somebody's probably been through something that you need answered. So to have those connections, and you did mention a couple of things. I think somebody asked the question of, is anybody having some financial issues, or some drop in income or tax revenue, and a very close, I'm not going to mention where you said, but it was like a 9% decrease in one of the cities that were close to us. We're lucky, so that gives you a pat on the back for everybody and everybody in the city that we don't have that it decreased. We're kind of at least leveled as far as the income wise. I know Mr. Neal here questioned some things about overtime, which I'm glad to hear. And you did a great job of explaining the overtime part of it. He mentioned, Freddie, Mr. Norris mentioned the organizations, which I didn't really honestly realize that we divvied that money out to different places, and the mayor made some, he didn't, it's just been like that for a long time, and that's perfect with what I believe in. Go back and look at things. Everything doesn't have to be like it was 10 years ago and 5 years ago. If there's a committee to decide who gets what, everybody, I didn't realize we took tax dollars and gave them out to, as nonprofit things. To me, I'm using somebody else's money to give it to somebody else. That doesn't really sit in my mind, but if you do it, that's the way you do it. I think I made the same question about the opioid funds 2 or 3 weeks ago when we talked about that. I said, what if somebody else comes along? And, how do they, get their name in the hat to get some of that? And I know there's a lot more stipulations than probably what was with this. So, whether it's a committee or the mayor, it takes probably a little pressure off the mayor of Victoria having to make that, but at least there's some kind of application process to go through. I was glad to hear that. So, overall, the finance meeting there was, you went through a lot of numbers, and I tried to keep up on probably the con side of that. Being a council member, I would like to have had a copy of the draft. I know you don't have to give me a copy of the draft budget because it's not officially public record, but, I could have went through and flipped through those pages a lot better if I would have had that. So I would appreciate that if I come in and sit next year, if I'm still here. If I happen to be on that or not be on there, but I'll probably be here, and if you can, let a council member have the same thing you have to go through. I promise you not to speak, but it just makes it easier to look through the numbers. I will say, as the finance director, I hope you're here a long time, and I hope you will learn so much more as you go along, and you'll be so much better the second year than you are the first. And that will only make the city much, much better and much stronger financially. I will like to see, and I'll throw this out there, and I always like to see, and maybe in the conversations you had all these conversations, but I just like to hear about, how we talked about, the HVAC systems or the purchasing plans, or just ways that we can, knock a few dollars, save it. In a $30 million budget, 1% or 2% across the board savings, all it does is build up the money that, and again, I forgot to mention, Terry, that was very important to me also. He said, we're trying to build that back up, that fund back up. I'm great to hear that. And the only way to do that is to try to cut a few corners. I don't say cut corners. I don't want to cut services. I'd like to build up the general fund so we can look out here and see these guys get a bigger than a 2.7% raise. And that's the only way you can do that, unless we want to raise taxes to people or raise the insurance fees. You got to build up the pot. And so my job, or I would like for you to really be a stickler on, you know, and again, I'll kind of compare a lot of this. It is very similar. Where government is government. I used to always have to hand over a budget that was 5 or 10%. What were you going to do if your budget's down? Because again, you just told us a city that was 9% lower than they were. What would the fire department, police department, transit, how would they cut 9%? Or can they? I mean, it makes you start thinking. If you're not thinking like that, I think they should be required to give you something like that. And hopefully it never happens, but it just makes you start getting that wheel turning. What happened? What if we do? What if you had another COVID, and all of a sudden the government wasn't funding you all through those things, or, the landfill all of a sudden had a bad year and you lost, 2 or 3 million from there, or somebody started competing with the landfill. Just preparing, and again, they may have all happened in those department meetings. If not, I would encourage that, hopefully it never gets to that point, but I think everybody needs to think in that direction in every department. And I've been in government, I know government, and I know everything in government doesn't work as 100% as efficient as it could be. There's always this. It could, knock a little bit off. And it doesn't take a lot of knocking off here and there to save a lot of money in a $30 million budget, to have more money to fill up the pot, to do things like fix the bridge over here or increase the 2.7%. So, I think you did a really good job. Might have a couple of questions again on looking at some of this the next time, but I'll try to email it to you, and I'm not going to hit you here and say, what about this page 4, and this is how did this increase, why we got 300, increase, but I will email you, and I may ask you out here again, because the public needs to hear that kind of thing. So, and I'm sure you'll be able to explain it and do a great job, or Terry will, but I apologize for not spending more time, Mayor, and looking over that in my 48 hours whenever I got this, but just did not do my due diligence, but I will before the next one. If I'm still living in here, I may have a few more questions. So thank you for all your work.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor?
Other discussion?
First, I'd like to thank the treasurer for putting the quick summary of expenses and revenue in the back. Most folks, a picture is worth 1,000 words, so hopefully that can make Councilman Wilkerson's and my additional review of this a little bit faster. And I mean, the mayor should be the one saying this, but it takes money to run a city, and a city is expensive, and few things in a city make money. Most of the departments don't make any money, so thank God we have property taxes, and for us, thank God we have the dump. Otherwise, things could be tighter, and we would have to make those hard choices that we have the luxury of not making this time.
Which not the dump, okay?
Oh, I'm sorry. What's it called then? All right.
Got to get the terminology right, Joe.
I think,
We're in a period of discussion. Anybody else want to say anything else before we do a roll call vote on the first reading?
If I asked you like the insurance fee, I know I think I read in it, was it like a 2.1? Did you not, the increase, not increase, but didn't you, wasn't it a pretty large, Victoria or Terry, the increase? Not increase, but you got a pretty good chunk.
It has an increase in it. The rate is not increased that we are charging, an increase, because we're seeing increase in premium across the board, so that's reflected in what the premium.
Right. I'm just saying, wasn't that a pretty good chunk of money, though, you got from that? I was thinking did see like $2 million or 2.1 million from your.
Yeah, the increase in that.
Not increase, but just you got a lot, just like the landfill. I mean, you made quite a bit of money from that, didn't you?
It's 8%. 8%. Our budget.
All right. Good discussion, and it's fascinating because you don't really realize until you start going to it at this level how much goes into this. And I'll say one last thing before I call the question is that we are fortunate. We have, if you're sitting here in the chairs that we're sitting in, to look at the quality of department heads that we have in this city who are so easy to work with and are on the same page at getting this done in behalf of the city and all their departments. And likewise, they hire really good people who work under them in these departments. It's a wonderful feeling to see everybody working together, and I really appreciate that. So if there's no further discussion, I will ask the
Mayor?
clerk to,
I have a question.
okay.
Can you explain to me why the KLC recommendation on the city employee raises wasn't granted?
I didn't know it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the Department of Local Government's 2.71 is their recommendation.
Did they recommend 2.9?
It's 2.71.
Okay.
In the years past, it's been 2.9, but it's 2. Yeah, that's right. That's what Victoria's giving me the hand signal back there. Yeah, it's 2.7. That's what it is. The Department of Local Government calculates that, and it's they have all types of things that go into it, and everybody, not all cities are fortunate enough to get a cost of living adjustment, period. So
I just hate it with, excuse me, the retirement going up 2% and then their raise is 2.7? It just feels like they're not getting anything.
well, I don't have you certainly, it is true that the retirement is the cost of the retirement is going up, but they're not losing the money. It's just
going up.
going into their retirement.
Yeah, it's going up 1% for the health insurance fund. So right now, there are people in the city that contribute the 1%, and that will go to 2%.
Yeah.
That was something that's decided on by the state, and that will go towards, for hazardous duty people, that will go towards their health insurance fund. There are also some people that are not on hazardous that do not contribute the additional point right now, and that goes up 1% too. So
Yeah,
it's the 1% across hazardous, and like I said, depending on your tier for non-hazardous employees, they see that 1% increase too.
But they increasing the pay and the money is still staying with them. It's just going into their retirement fund. It's not like they're not getting it. It's just diverted a little bit. Okay.
They increase the amount that they give them for health insurance. There's an old rate and then a new rate, and I have those specific numbers. They increased that, and basically, they increased it and then said, hey, we got to pay for it. So then in turn, they increased the amount that goes into that health insurance fund by 1% to make up for the increase.
Okay. Is that what you wanted to ask about?
Yeah, I just want to say for the record, and I know I don't have to explain why, I'm just going to vote no today because I've had a very crazy weekend and I haven't had time to go over this, but I know we have a second reading, so that's where I'll be.
All right. Well, any other discussion before we call the question? I will ask the clerk to conduct a roll call vote.
Kirkpatrick,
No.
Trigg,
Yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Shoemaker, Neal,
Yes.
Wilkinson,
Yes.
Bunnell,
Yes.
Yes.
Burris, Lowry.
Yes.
Okay, all right, so that is 8-1. The first reading of the budget amendment passes. Thank you very much. Good discussion. And we'll move on to the next thing we have on the agenda.
Next three items are municipal orders relating to appointments to various commissions or boards. The first is on order the Mayor Janice Turner is hereby reappointed to the Joint City-County Planning Commission. This appointment is for a 4-year term expiring June 30, 2030. This appointment is subject to the approval of the Glasgow City Council.
All right, you have heard the recommendation that Janice Turner be reappointed. I entertain a motion that we approve that.
Motion, Lowry.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Question, it's got MD on my paperwork in a couple of places.
I'll get that changed. Thank you.
All right. I haven't even seen that, Joe, so thank you for pointing that out. Okay, Rich.
Next item is a municipal order reappointing Aaron Woosley to serve as a member of the Board of Adjustments for the City of Glasgow for a 4-year term expiring June 30, 2030, subject to the approval of the Glasgow City Council.
All right, Aaron Woosley has been suggested to be reappointed to the Board of Adjustments. I'll entertain a motion that we approve that.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. And our third municipal order, wait, we got to vote, I'm sorry.
Yep.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Next item is a municipal order reappointing Randall Norris to the Glasgow Board of Adjustments for a 4-year term expiring June 30, 2030, subject to the approval of the Glasgow City Council.
Likewise, Randall has been serving on the Board of Adjustments, and it's been suggested he be reappointed. I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
Motion.
Okay, you got a second?
Norris.
Okay, all right, motion and a second. Any discussion about Mr. Randall Norris? Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Okay, Mr. Norris is reappointed. I have a lot of announcements right here. I'm going to, we've heard a lot of numbers, but I want to remind you about a really big thing coming up here that the Glasgow Kiwanis Club is spearheading, where this fellow Marty Brown, who's a great entertainer, is going to come to the Plaza Theater this Saturday. He's bringing his son, Christian Brown. It's a father-son get-together. Tickets are $35. All the proceeds go to the Kiwanis Club. It's at the Plaza Theater Saturday night. Also on Saturday during the day, down at the Farmers Market, we'll be declaring June Dairy Month, and there's a lot of they plan on having a lot of activities, a lot of free milk and free dairy things down there to be at the new Farmers Market. Looking forward to that. And this Saturday, it's the world-famous Spring Cruise into Glasgow Car Show happening on the square. All vehicles are welcome. It's a busy, busy, busy time. We had the Sip Shop and Stroll this past weekend. It was slammed, and I think that the car show will be equally as slammed. This is presented by the Glasgow Renaissance Main Street Committee. And another reminder about the Juneteenth observance. It's on Friday, June the 19th, which is Juneteenth. Glasgow Transit System will be running abbreviated schedule, 8:15 to 3:55. Sanitation routes on Friday will be picked up on the following Monday, the 22nd, with the normally scheduled Monday pickup. Landfill will be on an abbreviated schedule on Juneteenth of 8 a.m. until 11:30. Glasgow City Hall and other administrative offices will be closed that Friday, June the 19th, back to operations on June the 23rd. And one more thing here. This is going to be a cool show. Mr. Nathan Chester is going to be at the Plaza Theater on the 20th, which is a Saturday. Nathan Chester and the Old Souls Motown Revival. And James Neal, you got your tickets for that, do you yet? Okay, all right. Anyway, it's going to be a really great show, and that's going to be at 7 p.m. on Saturday, June the 20th. Tickets are $28 and $18, and I understand that he puts on a heck of a show. There's a lot of things coming up a little bit later in the month. We'll talk about that when we get together again, but I'm so excited to see so many good things going on in the community and so many different folks working together to make the good stuff happen. I really appreciate it. I will entertain a motion from someone for us to adjourn this meeting.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Thank you all for being here tonight.